So how did you start off with this Solido? I mean, this name is very fancy. Would like to hear you from that. What triggered you, and what's the backstory of starting this?
I am from Lithuania, but when I was 19, I left Lithuania and I spent around 7 years in China, in Shanghai. And so over there, I was working with various products. I was working with consumer products, food, other consumer products. And so I learned by being next to major players, by being next to CEOs, helping them conduct business between Europe and China. I learned a lot about how products work, and it always fascinated me. But I felt like something is missing, that it's not enough to just sell a thing and to sell thousands of things that then get discarded into the environment, that create all this waste and trash. And you can especially see it when you live in Asia, right? So in Lithuania, where I am now, it's really clean. We have lakes, we have waters, we have nice forests. You don't see the trash. You put it out somewhere and that's it, you forget about it. In China and in other countries like India, across Asia, you have trash in your face all the time. You can smell it, you can see it. And that was always something that made me feel uneasy. So at the next chapter of my life, I left Shanghai. I left not with some destination in mind, but I left traveling, backpacking. So I felt this need to, get rid of my stuff, not to keep so many possessions that are unnecessary. I was trying to give my things away, to start more minimalistic lifestyle. And at that point, I was researching. So how do these backpackers do it? How do they fit their whole life in a backpack? And that was the time when I discovered about solid shampoos as one of the solutions. And that was very important to me. As a woman, as you can live without maybe makeup and decorative cosmetics, but things like washing your hair, feeling clean. And I have more oily hair, so I do need to wash it every day, otherwise I'm just not feeling myself. So that was a great solution. It was really mind-blowing how convenient it was, how helpful it was on my travels. Whether you're camping and you have only a river stream outside, and you're using this organic natural thing to not pollute the environment, or you're like jumping on a plane, you don't need to worry about liquids and restrictions and all of those things. And also, just to carry it is so much lighter because you are not carrying all that water, which was also a big thing for me because the backpack was heavy. I'm not very strong. So this is how I learned about solid shampoos and solid cosmetics. And I was shocked that this is not available at every store near me because it seemed like such an obvious, easy solution that is, easier to use than a liquid one, that is not polluting because you're not wasting all of this plastic. So I was fascinated. I started giving gifts to all of my friends and just educating them about the solution. And at some point, I was just interested how these things work. And I started making cosmetics myself, just started experimenting in my kitchen, trying to make some product. And it was just gifts. It was for fun, just to test it, just to see how it goes. So I was just bringing it as Christmas presents to everyone. And people were asking, so can I buy it? I also want to get more gifts to my family and my friends. And I'm very by the rules girl. So I was like, no, I don't have any license. This is made in my kitchen. It's not legal to sell it. So I cannot really give it to you. So at that point, I realized that people are interested and that would be something that I could try. So I started working on the licenses and making them legally. And my first steps were, going into pop-up markets, Christmas markets, just setting up a table and offering this product which people didn't know about. So this was in Lithuania already. I moved back to Lithuania at that point, and people didn't know what it was. They thought it was soap. And so I would basically, I would even give a lot of product for free, just saying, just try it once. You will see what it is. You will see that it's not soap. You will see that it works. And I was actually surprised that so many people came back and they wrote very nice reviews. They found me. At that point, I wasn't doing a lot of advertising or anything, but they found me. They wrote their review. They ordered more. And, even some shops started looking for me and started looking for this product to bring on their shelves. So basically, this is the story about how Soludo was born, how it all started and the idea. And the name itself, as you mentioned, it's actually also it's a Lithuanian word. So Soludo means solid, but not in the sense like in English, it's hard. But in a sense, like it's reliable, it's good. Like, you would say like a solid job offer or something, in English. So that meaning. So in Lithuanian, it has this, you hear this word and you think, oh, something fancy, something good. But then also in all the other languages, I think it has this relation to solid products, right? And also we were from the very start thinking about making a logo that looks nice. So, three equal syllables on Soludo logo was also a consideration. So it's kind of, connection to Lithuania, to where I'm from, to where this brand was launched.
So this was quite helpful, this introduction that you've given. I can feel myself clicking on this because number one, you said that you love minimalistic lifestyle, which even I do. Second of all, it started just as a hobby, I would say, and then it transitioned into a business. And you'll be surprised to know that I myself have a hobby of creating scented candles. Anyways, coming to the point that the USP that you're trying to sell is that it uses 80% less water. Right. So how are you able to, innovate such a product which eliminates the water and still gives you the feel of a real product?
So that was one of my main considerations, I guess, main reasons why I felt the need to create my own product, because solid cosmetics were on the market, right? It was not completely unavailable, but in all of the products that I found, something was missing for me. So I would find things that are very sustainable, that have all the credentials of sustainability, and I get them, and they are just not giving me that good result. So then, of course, I will give up on using the product, because as much as people care about the environment and the planet, you still want to have cosmetics that make you feel good and that deliver those results. So then maybe you will use it from time to time, but you will definitely switch back. So I wanted a product that is the same level as a liquid product, or that is even better and has the same or even better sustainability credentials. So that was a very high requirement, I guess, but I think that we managed to achieve it. And, throughout this journey, I had a lot of ideas of products that would be needed, that products that I would like to launch. But if I cannot get to the point that I feel this is better or at least equal to a regular product, I will not launch it. So there are some areas where we haven't launched any innovation just because we feel that we cannot offer something that is inferior to a really good liquid product. So that is one thing that, I always try to choose the ingredients that are really, really performing well. Then the second thing is, the brand. This is what we look like. So I was also very mindful about the shape and creating something that doesn't look like soap. So that was also very intentional, that we don't make another square, another round thing that just looks like a piece of soap. So people, as they see the shape, they know, oh, Soludo. This is Soludo. So that was another thing that I was intentional about. And then lastly, of course, our packaging. That is another outstanding thing from other products on the market. Because you would have things without plastic, you would have things packaged in paper. A lot of times the paper is not that sustainable, to be honest, like embellished or like with film that is also containing all kinds of ingredients that are really not that good or not that recyclable. And of course, just to make paper, you're cutting trees. So again, that's a consideration. So we use a packaging that is backyard compostable. So you do not need to worry about, whether it's recycled or not, because you can do it on your own. So just in your house, you can plant this in a garden, in a compost bin, in a house plant, and in 45 days, it just becomes soil. Second of all, this is not using any microplastics. This is not using any paper. This is bamboo, starch, and charcoal. So all completely natural materials that are safe to be composted. So I feel like with this circular idea, I managed to create something that you can really leave no waste behind, because the product, you will use it, that box you can compost. So I feel like this makes me feel better about what we are doing. And that should make our clients feel better about their beauty routines.
Yeah, design of the box is quite amazing. I was very much intrigued by the kind it was designed. I mean, if you put it over a shelf, one can easily recognize that it must be Solidus product. So, what was the thought behind making such a innovative design package? And is this design patented by you, or what about that? Can you just tell me about these aspects?
Obviously, as a brand, we do have a trademark for the brand, for the logo, for the shape. So the things that really represent the brand. Of course, we have it trademarked. And yes, as I mentioned, the main idea was to stand out because that is still the most common question that we get from clients. Oh, is this just overpriced soap that you just call something else and you sell it? So I think this is the most common misconception that people have. So to help them to break away from this mentality, to just break that connection that this piece of something is a soap, it's not. So we do shampoo, conditioner, body butter, body wash. We are about to launch a face line. So all of these products are made from the ingredients that you would use in a liquid product. Is just no water. It's not like it's soap with something added to it and then we call it a shampoo.
Let's take a step back. And what were the challenges that you faced while formulating such a solid product? Because I'm sure the sourcing would have been one aspect of it. You must be, aware of the what all things would go into it. So, what all the challenges that you face while sourcing these raw materials?
Well, obviously, there are a lot of challenges in any startup, but of course, when you're doing something different from the mainstream, you have even more. Obviously, there was a huge challenge sourcing this packaging that we are using, as I wanted something that is more sustainable than anything else that others are using. That was a real challenge to find and develop that solution. Then developing solid products, there are some ingredients that you cannot use just because of the water content, right? So you might have a really good raw material that you're thinking, wow, this is sustainable, this is ethically produced, has all of these great qualities, it's performing so well. But if it's too liquid, if it has too much water, it's just no way that we can incorporate it. And as a small company, it's not like we can request the raw material manufacturers to make us like a powdered version or something. If that's normally done, obviously we are not big enough to get that done. And also, I think as I go deeper into the business, as I start working with larger suppliers, I also realize how much greenwashing there is in the cosmetics raw material space. So you are reliant on these few big players in the market that are producing the majority of the materials that everybody is using, and you have to use them because they are the key ingredients that make products work. And then you would have these stories and presentations, how sustainable it is, how green, how they're increasing the green credentials, and so on and so on. But then if you really start doing the research and you look into what they're doing, it's deforestation, it's still palm oil used a lot in most of the raw materials. And you might have palm oil that is, oh, this is a sustainable palm oil, and so on and so on. Still, we are not taking enough steps, and it's shocking to me that we would have product presentations in 2023, 2024, newly launched innovations, and they're still based on palm oil. So it kind of makes sense that you have old raw materials that were created 20, 30 years ago, right? And based on palm oil, maybe it's difficult to change it because of all the processes already in place. But you are creating something new and you're still going the same route while pledging to the world how you will be more sustainable and so on. So I feel like that is a lot of greenwashing in many aspects of the raw materials. And as a startup, it's just not feasible to do everything. So we cannot be our own raw material producer and packaging producer and our product producer and everything, right? So we are not big enough. We don't have resources to do all of that. So that you still have to deal with what is on the market, and you would like to offer something better to your clients, but you not always have that choice. So I feel those are, real challenges that we must tackle, not me as Viva from Soludo, but us as an industry.
Yes, greenwashing is one of the biggest challenge these days. They sell the product in the name of sustainability, but if you see the back end of it, again, it's just simple plain greenwashing. Anyways, but glad that you're trying to tackle these situation in a very whatever way, and must in much more effective way that you can. So moving forward, I want to know that uh, how much of an impact do you think that reducing the product volume, meaning thereby by eliminating water in your product, will have an impact on the environmental footprint? So what's your view on that?
So that is, another impact metric that is measurable. Well, us again as a small company, I think we could do a better job measuring it exactly. So maybe in the future we can get more and more precise on those calculations. But basically, we calculated that on average we reduce the water content by at least 75% across all products. So that means that 75% less fresh water is used in production. So literally in our production, if you've seen any cosmetics companies, they normally have, either direct water source coming to them or these huge tanks of water, and we just have, a few liter bottle standing there. So it's much less water use. So we are basically mostly the water comes from the ingredients that it's already in. We are not putting more fresh water into the product. So that is obvious. But there is another thing that by reducing the volume, you're also making it much smaller. So this is representing a full size bottle of shampoo, and it's so much smaller. So then when you look at this at scale, as we ship, how many more we can fit on one pallet in one truck or in one container. So that many times less trips you need to take to deliver that same result, to have people using the product for that same amount of time. So that is again affecting the CO2 emissions. That is also helping with the transportation issues and pollution in that way. So there are a lot of, indirect good impact that product like this is making besides from just eliminating plastic.
Yeah, I mean the unintended consequences, like you just mentioned, the less number of pallets and the less number of CO2 emission will of course is something that people should even ponder about. That was very thoughtful of you to bring that up. So in such products, like traditionally we have been using such products like the one based on shampoo. I mean, like one based on water, but you are trying to eliminate the water in your products. How do you think that uh, consumers will change their behavior towards such products, and how are you educating your consumers about the benefits of these products?
Education is obviously a challenge in this in this market, in this category. Consumers are more educated now than before, and especially with new generations, I see a big difference because people that are a bit older generation, so it could be 40 plus, they love our products once they try it, but it's not so easy to convince them to try it because I think by that time you already have quite established beauty routine. You know what you like, what you don't like. You're less willing to experiment, and you're more scared to experiment on your skin, and you're afraid of new things more than younger generations. And then when I'm talking to teenagers, people that are still at school, and I'm just, oh, this is a solid shampoo, and then I expect all of these questions. Oh, is it a soap? What do you mean solid? How do I use it? Is it for one time? And blah blah. And the young people are like, oh, okay, cool. They just take it for granted, like this is normal, this is how it's supposed to be, because they were born into the effects of climate change, they were born into the climate crisis, pollution, and all of these things. So they just think it's, yes, it's obvious. And I think as they grow up, they will just demand that all of their products must meet. It's not just the basic thing that your product does, cleans your hair or, does your makeup. No, what is the company doing? What are the sustainability credentials behind this? And how can you defend that? And I don't think they will settle for greenwashing. So I see that difference in generations. But of course, in this field, it is challenging to educate. So, like I mentioned, trying the product is the easiest way to convince someone. Otherwise, you have to rely on just telling people, oh, how great it is, and so on, and how do you use it, and so on. And I believe that, solid cosmetics brands and producers, us together, are making this easier for each other. So as you know, more companies appear that are doing this. Everybody's doing the education, and together we are kind of growing this category and helping people understand why they should choose solid over liquid.
That's obvious that convincing the older people is much more difficult than the newer ones because they are much more aware of the impacts of the climate change and the impact that your product is trying to bring in the market. So that was something true. I see that you are now restricted to just Europe only. When do you think of crossing the Baltics? When can I have this product available in India? Let's say, I'm quite convinced by the product and the kind of change that you want to bring to this. When can I have it in India?
So right now, yes, we are mainly in the Baltics. This is our home market, so of course we are strongest here. We do have some presence around other European countries. So we just launched in Poland, we just launched in Denmark, we have customers in Switzerland. And we are slowly taking steps to expand further. So in the US, we have a few shops that carry our products. We also recently launched in Turkey. And a few years ago, we actually launched in Taiwan, where we have distributor there. Countries like China, like India, as attractive as they are, of course, it's very, very challenging because of the size and because of different regulations and everything, and the competition, of course. So I feel like as soon as we find the suitable partners, as soon as we find someone to go there with us, as to do it alone, it's just really, really challenging. And as always, as a small startup, obviously we need funding and investment to be able to even start thinking about those steps. And the investment environment, of course, right now is also quite challenging, and everybody's more conservative and not so focused on growth, but more focused on, having sustainable revenues and profit margins. So all of these things are quite challenging, but I'm sure that we will get there somehow.
Yeah, that's quite a challenge, getting proper funding and then, of course, going in different domain altogether can be a quite risky after all. But talking about the regulations, were you facing any challenges, or were there any challenges in your home turf regarding the regulations, and how did you tackle them?
Yes, I was facing some challenges. It wasn't that easy, especially as I was alone at that time and didn't have a team or people to really help me with it. So Lithuania is obviously in the European Union, and this is one of the strictest regulations in the world as it comes to cosmetics. So obviously things like using ingredients that are banned and production methods that are banned was not an issue for us because this was already using only the safest and natural ingredients in the product. But to just meet all of the requirements, as the requirements are the same whether you are just making product alone or you have large factory. The requirements are the same. And so you have to really come up with ways how you will present that to meet those requirements. Like what can you do? How can you ensure that you have proper, raw material flow and production flow, and you check everything and you ensure the quality and you ensure the safety and you meet all of that without having all of the infrastructure that a large company might have. And sadly, in Lithuania, I wasn't able to benefit from, some help from the government or consulting me or helping me. So I asked them, but they just told me, just have to figure it out. Maybe go and ask your competitors. We will not help you. Like the department that is in charge of regulating the area. So I feel that is kind of lacking, at least in our market, that you are there to punish when people do not meet those requirements, but not actually ensure that you can help them find a way to do it. So of course now, as I have more experience and I have R&D person that is dedicated to taking care of these things, it's much easier to do all the paperwork and to ensure all of the things properly. And I think it's not about, safety by itself, or like, the quality by itself, or things how you organize, but to have all the proper paperwork that shows that it is so. So that I feel is, is not about the reality on the ground, but about the papers that you are able to submit and to show that. Yes, now that I feel like if I knew about all of this as I started, I wouldn't have started, but I didn't. So I think that helped me, being a bit naive at that point, as I was already too deep into it by the time I realized that it's a huge challenge. And so I just had to deal with it.
Well, quite fascinating to know that it is also persisting in Lithuania and other European nations. But nonetheless, that you were able to wade your way through those regulations, and now that you've established your company quite well. So that's an amazing journey so far. Now, talking about the competitors in Europe that you mentioned, I was reading about the competitors, and Solid Bar Company is one of the most prominent one that's dominating the sustainability thing that even you are trying to focus upon the Europe. So, what makes you different from your competitors, or what different are you doing to make sure that you stay above in this race and competition?
Yes, so as I mentioned, the whole category of solid cosmetics is obviously growing, and a lot of new brands are emerging, or all brands are launching a solid line. So I feel that this is a good thing overall, because this is helping the category grow together. And it's not, if you were just alone, probably, it wouldn't be possible to do anything. But this helps with education, that helps with also having retailers and shops, making them aware of these type of products and having them look for these type of products. So I feel like competitors is not a scary thing that you need to be worried about. And what makes us different and what helps us find our client. So first of all, I think is this the dedication, which I mentioned, to find a way to make it a very efficacious product that just really delivers that result. First of all, because that is what the customer at the end of the day cares about. Sustainability is nice, and that is my job, right? So your job is to find the product that makes you look good and feel good and that delivers that result that you want. And it is my job to make sure that it's sustainable. And to you, it's just a bonus. It's not the main reason, mostly, that people choose this product for. But then sustainability part, we also take it very seriously, as is shown by our packaging that is compostable. So that is pretty unique. That only Soludo is doing, as far as I know. So again, that is something that people can remember us by and know us by. And then I think people that are with us, people that choose Saludo, they really believe in the story. It is nice to know that who is making these products, how they are made, where do they come from, that they were produced ethically here in Lithuania, in Europe, using ethical labor, and that you can truly feel good that you're supporting a business that is trying to do their best and to be the best version to the environment and to the people. And a lot of times, if you have, some large brand or some no-name, no-name producers launching it that are not really showing that side, you don't know where it is produced. It is not clearly communicated. You don't know how it came to the shelf near you. You do not get that feeling. And if you want to make sure that your money is supporting good business, it is much harder to do with these very large corporations.
I would say transparency in the whole process is another USP that you are trying to pitch into your customer, other than the sustainability part. And this was very right when you said that competitions help you innovate more. So you need to have competition in and around, because otherwise you might just be complacent about what more can you do in that particular category, right? Well, again, quite insightful thought that you just mentioned. And now moving on to your next products, I was looking on your website that you have listed on few products like deodorant, shampoos, and toothpaste, if I'm not mistaken. So, what new products or innovations are there in your pipeline, and what's your vision for the next 5 to 10 years? What more than sustainability that you are trying to achieve?
So it's not a secret anymore that next month we are launching to the market a face line. So that will be a solid face wash, which is amazing. I really love. I'm already using it. I already took it on some trips with me, and I'm so happy. It's a product that I myself really need. So I'm happy about it being launched. And we will have also face masks that are also in plastic-free packaging. And in the pipeline, we do have more innovations in the product categories that we already have. So shampoos and conditioners, because hair care is our main category. But then we're also thinking about completely new categories. So nothing is confirmed yet, but a lot of ideas are out there that we could work on. Pet products, baby products, intimate products, all kinds of things that you could also use that innovation and make it more sustainable and to just offer these sustainable options to people. So I think that we have more ideas than time and resources. So ideas for new lines is never a problem, but to actually have the resources to properly do it, that is always the biggest issue in a small company like ours. So, I wish that I had huge R&D department, churning out new prototypes every week. That would be so amazing.
That's right, but these little steps will, of course, will take you to a very longer and much more better journey. So, coming to the conclusion of our talks, before we conclude, I wanted to know that what were the challenges that you faced in this entire journey? Because you started off gifting these to your friend to making it a company. I'm sure that there must be some downtime in your life when you felt like giving up. What kept you going, and what advice would you give to the aspiring entrepreneurs, especially in the eco-friendly section, who want to get into this domain and product line?
Yes, we did change. We did have a lot of challenges throughout these years. I will not lie, it was not easy, and it is not easy. It is really, really hard. So, in the beginning, you have the obvious challenges of launching and get it going, and, the regulations and all of these things, and doing it on your own before you can start building a team. As you start building the team, that presents all kinds of new challenges. So, bringing on the people and managing them and making sure that everything aligns still in the vision and the culture and all of that. After a few years, I also started fundraising. So fundraising is a challenge on its own. You need to learn completely new things unrelated to the business. It's like another science how to fundraise. And I'm sure that you know that women-founded startups only receive a few percent of all of the fundraising investment money available out there. So you already start at a huge disadvantage, and it is very difficult. And for physical product, for product that mostly male investors working there, they do not understand, they do not have this problem, they are not your target customer. All of these are, really, really challenging things to do. And then, of course, we survived through COVID pandemic. After that, we had a war breakout next door. So the whole uncertainty and economic instability, inflation, all of these things, rising costs. The utility bills after the war started were absolutely crazy that winter. So all of those things, very real challenges that I think any company has. However, as a startup, as a small company, you feel it that much more. And I think what keeps me going and what really helps is mostly, talking to the clients and receiving feedback from clients. So I do feel sometimes like giving up and like this is not worth it and it's too hard. And then, customers come back and they say, oh my God, this is the best thing that I've been using for years. I really love this product. It saved my hair, it saved my looks. Thank you for doing this. And then you feel like it was all worth it. So I think that is to me the most helpful thing because if that wasn't there, if it was only about the money, then it wouldn't be worth it for me. And so that's why I think for other startups, for other entrepreneurs, the most important thing is to actually believe in what you're doing. As banal as that sounds, everybody is saying the same thing, but I think it's true because you do need to dedicate every day And I would say every minute you kind of have it at the back of your mind. So if you're just doing it because you feel like you will make money out of it or become famous or some other thing that is not related to that work, to that product, it will be very hard to keep going and you will give up because those are not deep enough motivations to keep you going through very hard times. So I think it's important to really, really believe in the mission of the company that you are launching.
Certainly. I mean, money can never be a motivation. It is the change that you want to bring in the society that, let's say, for Solido, it's the sustainable and much more efficient product which uses less water. So this really kept you going, and this was such an inspiring story. And I really look forward to have these products available in our shelves in India. I'm so eager to get my hands on this, especially because of the product design that you have, and of course the impact that you're trying to make. So Viva, it was a great time to have you over here and getting to know you and the the mission and the story of what Solido is and what it's trying to achieve is quite inspiring. So again, thanks for giving your time and thank you so much.
Thank you so much